That was not the turn I was expecting this to
It's
take.
the next paragraph. It's right after he says nice tits.
Nice
He says,
tits.
Want to
watch me take a
shit?"
dump? Hey, Sally, check this out. I actually made an intro instead of you being like, Matt, please say the intro. Please say an intro. And then I lock up and I deer in the
I
headlights.
have no expectations for that. It's just like,
What's the thing that like
I'm
a
not gonna,
podcast?
shout at a person and expect
Right.
them to understand.
No, of course not. I'm not saying you did that.
Yeah.
You had the very normal thought of, well, this is a podcast. It should be from one of the hosts. Not asking for much.
And I'd rather it be because, you're the guy who did the blog.
I'm a big spaz too, and I think people respond to that, so that's good. I've got that going for me. But yeah, are you ready? Are you ready to hear this expertly crafted intro?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm ready to edit out everything bad. Okay, go ahead.
Welcome to Monsters Conquer the World. I'm Matt. I'm joined by Ralph. And this is usually a podcast where Ralph and I discuss giant monster movies and creature features, kaiju flicks, stuff like that. I'm a dyed-in-the-wool super fan who gobbles this shit up. Ralph has a fresh perspective, a new set of eyes, and he brings incisive and thoughtful non-fanboy commentary, and we kind of bounce off each other.
Yeah.
But-
This time is going to be different.
Yeah, we're doing something a little different this time because this ain't a movie. This is a real monster. Bigfoot.
Real in big old quotation
Big
marks.
fat quotation marks. And before we get all the way up Bigfoot's big hairy ass, I do want to give a quick thanks to our amazing patrons, Riccio and Shelley. You're amazing.
And anyone who signs up after this,
Absolutely.
thank you too. Go ahead.
It's just I gotta give a shout out to them. It's still blowing my mind.
They're wonderful people.
They're like our own personal superheroes. Like it's nuts. But yeah, I'll quit blowing up their spot for now. And I want to get right into it. I've been researching this all week. Before we started recording, I was telling Ralph about how I would sit down to do some research and think, okay, I want to look into this and I want to get some notes on that. And I'll wrap this up pretty quick. And then I look up and it's 3 a.m. Like, it's such, and before I started doing research, I was like, I don't know if there's enough meat on this bone. This is a totally different thing for us.
Yeah.
And I've got 6 pages. I don't know if you can hear this great Foley. I got 6 pages of bullshit about this big hairy ape man that supposedly lives in, the Pacific Northwest. And the reason why Bigfoot is on our mind is, and maybe you've seen this if you're listening to this, but earlier this month, the FBI released their Bigfoot file.
I read it all. Did you read it all?
I sure did read the whole thing. There's
not much there.
It's not a lot. And so when because I told Ralph about this, I'm like, hey, Ralph, the FBI's got a Bigfoot file. Holy shit. Let's make that our episode. And I hadn't read the file yet. I'm like, oh, this will be juicy. It's about 6 or 7 pages. And it's
just like half of it is newspaper articles that this not crazy guy, but just guy sent to the FBI. It's just like clippings. So
Right.
I'm like, I don't need to read these. I know what they say.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. It's a lot of just newspaper clippings and letters back and forth. And then you get to the very end and it's 2 or 3 sentences on a single page, basically saying the alleged Bigfoot hair and tissue sample that you sent us it belongs to an animal from the deer family. Thank you.
Yep.
And that's a wrap.
I love thinking about like how serious this guy is who sent the sample or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And how the FBI has to deal with that guy, and to just be like, okay, so he's just bothering us, and we should look into this just to shut him up.
Well, and also we are the FBI. We have to do our due diligence.
Yeah,
what if it was Bigfoot hair? You know,
right?
Well, speaking of cryptids, if you're listening to this and you might not know what a cryptid is, or even if you do, and it's just kind of fun to get a quick refresher. I do want to dig into that really quick. And cryptids are one of those things where it's almost easier to just provide a bunch of examples instead of a definition, but I've got both. Cryptids include Bigfoot, the Chupacabra, Mekelemembe. I might be pronouncing that wrong, but that's an African water spirit, or potentially a Brontosaurus.
Yeah, I've not heard of that one.
It's a little more of a deep cut, and I love that he was included right alongside Bigfoot and Chupacabra, two of the big boys.
Yeah.
But some dictionaries and encyclopedias define the term cryptid as an animal whose existence is unsubstantiated. And I think that's a really handy, quick way to sum it up.
Yeah, and really telling.
Yes, absolutely. And if you haven't picked this up already, Ralph and I are both skeptics.
Yeah, you less so for sure, though.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm a maybe hopelessly hopeful a skeptic, and you're more of just like a facts.
I just believe it when I see it, or not even that, because there are a lot of things I can't see that I believe in, but
sure. And vice versa. You can see something and it can be a hoax.
I'm actually the opposite of what I said, in that my whole thing with all of the cryptids and the ghosts and everything like that is all based on what some person saw.
Yes.
And the human mind is a treacherous beast.
It sure is.
So, yeah.
We're obsessed with patterns to the point where we see patterns where they don't exist. We're obsessed with faces and see them where they're not there.
Right.
So your eyes can certainly deceive you.
Did you hear about... Okay, so this is a ghost thing. I'll just say this. And you were saying that our minds create patterns, or like take what we see and try to
turn them into patterns.
Turn it into something familiar to us that we have seen. Which is, I've heard why bugs frighten us, because it's like, okay, that's weird. Like until you get used to it, like your little lizard brain is just like, oh, that's not human. That's not ape-like. That's not anything. That's like really weird and creepy. I don't get it.
Sure, a bug is as different from us as you can get.
It scares you because at first your mind doesn't really make sense of it. But what happened is there are like these ghost hunter guys, and they sell devices to, like sensory devices,
like EVP.
Sort of. Yes.
Yeah.
So one of these guys was selling a device that I don't know what he called it, but he set it in a dark room, and he'd just like sit there with a TV hooked up to it, and then a human form would just appear, and he'd be like, there it is.
There's the ghost.
There's the ghost.
I found this room's ghost.
Yes. And people would be like, oh my God.
Oh shit, there's a ghost right here, right now.
He has this device that can sense a ghost.
Wow.
But it was apparently an Xbox Connect.
No way.
Which is made to sense a human form.
Yes.
So if there's no human form there, it'll still like try to create the outline of a human.
It's trying to recognize stuff.
Right. So even if you believe in ghosts, there are a lot of people out there who are just like either completely stupid or trying to rip you off.
Or they are hopeless hopefuls.
Or you're not selling Xbox Connects.
No, I'm not. That is some grifter bullshit. That is a good point.
So that's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, no matter what story I hear, I'm going to look farther into this. I'm going to look at skeptical sides of things. I used to listen to podcasts that were like full on believer shit. Oh. And then I would, go look up the research that other people, maybe more scientifically minded,
right,
would do.
with true believers, you get into people that are, you can see when they start doing the mental gymnastics to make shit connect and work. And
yeah, and it's fine because it's really fun to do that.
Oh, it's fascinating. It is. It's like a fun thought exercise.
Yeah. I just, at a certain point, I'm like, I don't want to fool myself.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, you want to be honest with yourself. And if you have a basic grasp on biology, pretty much every cryptid falls apart. Like,
oh boy.
Yeah. I mean, again,
let's not get into that and sink the whole thing.
Right.
I did want to say something like that up front.
Sure.
But yeah.
Well, the flip side of that, that I would like to get into, the flip side of basic biology, it can also support cryptids. Ralph, did you know that gorillas were thought to be made up bullshit?
I had heard that.
Until within the last 150 years, the mountain gorilla subspecies, gorilla berengi, I might be saying that wrong, but that's like the Latin name. It was a myth until 1902.
Yeah,
we didn't know about like
fucking wild, right?
That's a real animal. There's a bunch of them. The main species of gorilla, like the primary, like not the offshoot, but the main one wasn't verified until 1847.
Oh, wow.
So just gorillas in general are kind of a new thing that we thought was bullshit for a while.
Wow.
Similarly, Komodo dragons weren't verified until 1910. The platypus was thought to be a hoax up through like 1799.
Oh, that still might fly for a hoax.
Because it's crazy.
Like,
that is a ridiculous
wild to wrap your brain out. Yeah, around.
It is. That is like, it's basically a jackalope, right? Yeah,
it's wild. I can't picture it in my mind.
No.
Anyway.
It is like a joke animal.
Right.
The okapi, which is sort of like a, this is not as well known as a platypus, but it's basically imagine like a donkey and a zebra had like a funny little horse baby.
This is more believable.
Yeah, but that was a myth until 1901.
Mm-hmm.
And on average, we discover over 7,000 new species every year.
Wow.
Granted, 7,000 of those are bugs.
Yeah.
We discover about 100 fish and about 1 mammal, plus 50 new dinosaurs.
Oh.
A year.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Well, dinosaurs are a whole nother.
Oh, sure. That I kind of threw
really
that in.
Messy. Yeah.
Yeah. That is, it's not quite the same field of science, but I thought that was worth kind of tossing in there. So that's kind of like, I don't know. I saw those numbers and I was like, that's a pretty solid case for these guys. Or things like them.
That's the thing. It's possible. It's within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
But we're going to get into some stuff.
Oh yeah. But that's kind of cryptids. Cryptids are like
in general
living things that the evidence in support of them is shaky, is maybe a kind way to put it. So what is Bigfoot? Maybe you've been living under a rock your whole life and you don't know what the fuck Bigfoot is.
Yeah.
Bigfoot is are large, muscular, bipedal, ape-like creatures, roughly 6 to 9 feet tall, covered in hair, described as black, dark brown, or dark reddish. They have enormous footprints that they're named after, of course, that can be as large as 24 inches long and 8 inches wide. Nice. Some footprint casts have also contained claw marks, which might mean they're just misidentified black bears, but that's another thing.
Could be.
That's another thing altogether. One thing I also like about Bigfoot is it's fairly... It's basically canonical that they smell fucking terrible, and that's like fun to me.
Love it. That's got to be the best part.
Right? It's like good.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
relatable.
We've all been there. And so Bigfoot famously is associated with the Pacific Northwest, so like Washington, Oregon, Canada, and that's kind of its stomping grounds. But there are Bigfoots all over the world, or Bigfoot-like creatures. The most famous you probably are familiar with is the Yeti or the abominable snowman out in Tibet. Mm-hmm. That was the one I knew about, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, Looney Tunes, man.
or, unsubstantiated accounts of animals, but also pop culture. It is crazy how much it took me doing the research and kind of stepping away to realize how fucking much Bigfoot and Yetis permeate all media. We were talking about a Goofy movie a couple episodes back.
Are we calling back to a Goofy movie again?
Yes, we are, because guess who has a great scene right in the middle of a Goofy movie? Motherfucking Sasquatch.
Really? Oh, yeah.
When they're camping.
I remember that now.
He puts the tighty whities on his head, and then he looks out the wiener hole. And it's
wow.
Great. Yeah.
Were those used?
Probably.
Oh, they really, were they fresh out of the luggage, or was it
I think they actually,
Goofy,
I think they were
hung them up.
I guess. Well, that's the next episode is just going to be a Goofy movie. We got to do the research. I don't recall.
Looking through my pee hole.
I thought that was kind of blue for a Disney cartoon. Yeah. They are acknowledging dicks right now. That is wild. Goofy's big old dick. He's probably strapped, right?
Goofy is packing because he's too weird.
And he's real tall and he's got real big feet.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So he's probably swinging some monster dong. This is maybe a weird tangent, but I feel it was worth exploring.
No, it's not weird. Why would it be weird? This is a running thing.
In all seriousness, that's he's one of my favorite cartoon characters.
He should be in the logo.
we hide him in there.
The final drawing of the logo, it should be alien Sasquatch, obviously Godzilla's, several Godzillas, and then many. A big old Goofy,
or a shadow Goofy, right? You got to really look to see.
Yeah,
he should be hidden,
silhouette, just from the side, like Alfred Hitchcock.
Well, speaking of creatures with big feet, Bigfoot. I knew about Bigfoot, and Sasquatch is the same thing. It's two names for the same creature. But I knew about
it's
Bigfoot.
Just funnier. Squatch is just funnier than Bigfoot.
Yeah, it is. And Sasquatch has its roots in actual Native American folklore too, so it's kind of a more legit name in addition to being funnier.
Yeah.
But I knew about Bigfoot and Sasquatch, and I knew about Yeti / the Abominable Snowman. I didn't realize I'm going to read through them. There is a Bigfoot on every inhabited continent. You've got Almas in Central Asia. Okay. You've got a Mamango in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. You've got Ban Manoush in Bangladesh. You've got Bar Manu in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Batutut in Southeast Asia. Deva or Div in Tajikistan and Iran. You've got Chuchunya in Siberia. Fir Iliath in Scotland and the UK. There are a bunch of US variants too. We talked about the skunk ape, which I guess that was another one I knew about. But also in the US, you've got the Fauk monster. You've got Grassman in Japan. You've got Hibagan in India. You've got Mandi Barung. Mandy. Yep.
Mandy.
She's a fine girl.
Yep.
Oh no, that's Brandy. I fucked it up. Ralph.
It's okay.
We'll fix that in post.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We'll edit that joke so it's good.
I am putting the marker in right now.
Thank you. We've got Mapan Guari in South America. You've got Menk in Russia. Momo the monster is another U.S. variant, not to be confused with Momo the terrifying bird lady.
Right.
You've got Nukluk in Canada. You've got Ochokochi in Georgia, the country, not the state.
Okay.
I always have to make that distinction because I'll see news reports about the government in Georgia, or Georgia is mobilizing its army. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in Georgia?
Georgia has an army.
What's up with Georgia?
Yeah.
Orang Mawas in Malaysia. Orang Pendek in Indonesia.
This is a lot of names.
Right, but they're all big feats. Yeah. They're all different.
You got 60 more on there?
Just 2.
Oh.
Yeren in China and Yowie in Australia.
Oh.
Everybody got a Bigfoot, and I truly did not know that. And it blew my mind, and I don't know. There's something magical about that to me that got me thinking about some shit that we'll get to later. No matter where you are, you're only probably a couple 100 miles from a Bigfoot at any given time.
Yep.
Legends of the creature predate the name Bigfoot. They vary regionally and even within communities sometimes. That was one thing that I thought was really interesting, getting into the different tribes in the Pacific Northwest. Within a tribe, you will have families who have different accounts of Bigfoot and different Bigfoot stories. Like some will describe it as a kind of malevolent or scary creature.
Okay.
And then you'll have a family within the tribe who describe it as more of a benevolent, peaceful kind of creature. And I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Recorded accounts and reports of Bigfoot and Bigfoot-like mystery creatures date back to the 1840s. So this isn't a new thing that we cooked up in the 60s with that film strip. This shit at least goes back that far.
Well, I mean, yeah, I would have thought it would go even farther back. I'm kind of interested, like, what was going on in 1840 that all of a sudden people were like, hey, there's Bigfoot around?
I think white people were talking to Native Americans more.
Oh, okay. I think that's maybe the natives had the legend first.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And again, depending on the tribe, the cultural impact of the Bigfoot, depending on who you talk to, there are tribes that'll tell you, well, it's not a legend, it's a thing, it's out there.
Okay.
It's like a fucking fact for some people, and that is, it's so good. And I'll get into some more of those early accounts, but I did want to throw out there that the Associated Press did a poll in 2014, and more Americans believe in Bigfoot than the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, that tracks. Wouldn't you think?
Yeah. Well, it didn't until I saw the data, and I was like, oh yeah.
What is the percentage?
You know what? I didn't get the percentage.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, that's okay. We'll get it.
It's, actually, hang on. I'm pulling it up on my phone right now. And it says here that 99% of Americans believe in Bigfoot, and only 1.5% believe in the Big Bang Theory. It's wild.
No, that's about right.
Yeah, it's a statistic that I pulled up on my smartphone here.
We are very stupid.
or you saw Bigfoot.
We're right on top of things.
We fucking nailed it.
Yeah.
Do you know who's amongst those who are Bigfoot believers, Ralph?
Well,
I'll pepper a couple of them throughout. I did. Oh, that's true. You do already know.
I'm going to act like I've not heard it yet.
Yeah, this is acting. We're putting on a show. Oh, yeah. Get John Lovitz in here. But Jane Goodall.
Yeah.
Is a Bigfoot believer, and Jane Goodall's the authority on chimpanzee behavior. She studied those fuckers for 55 years. She knows her shit. And but to clarify a little bit, because we could
read the full quote, man.
we could do some clickbaity bullshit and just leave it at that. Jane Goodall believes in
real Bigfoot.
It's real, according to Jane Goodall. It was an interview.
Never seen feet so big.
She's crazy about him. Crazy about that squatch.
That's how Jane Goodall talks.
It is. She was talking with NPR in 2002, and her exact quote is, should I do a voice?
Do you a good Jane Goodall?
I don't know what she sounds like. I could guess, though. Would that be good for a podcast?
I don't know, because my Jane Goodall sounds.
Do you have a great Jane Goodall?
No. In my head, she sounds a lot like the lady from the cooking show.
Oh, Julia Childs.
I just
got straight through the middle of the cake.
That's
a great Julia Childs.
Very spitty too, but yeah. That's what
I
know that's not what Jane Goodall sounds like.
I can't imagine she sounds like that. I was imagining Diane Rehm.
Through the middle of the cake.
Maybe
just read enough voices.
Well, now you will be amazed when I tell you that I'm sure that they, brackets referring to Bigfoots, exist. She went on to say with a laugh, well, I'm a romantic, so I always wanted them to exist. And then she followed that with, she kind of walked it back and said, why isn't there a body? I can't answer that. And maybe they don't exist, but I want them to.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Again,
and that is the heart of all cryptids to me.
Yeah.
We really want the world to be that interesting, and we want to like take all of our fears and wrap it up in a nice little package.
Yeah. We want that mystery and magic to exist in our backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And so kind of digging into the earliest accounts I could find about Bigfoot and actually coining the name Sasquatch. You've got the Lummi Indians who tell tales of Semiquis. I don't know how to say that. It's a crazy word. There's apostrophes and stuff in there.
It's going to be tons of mispronunciations.
Yeah. But the Lummi, they that's their local Bigfoot variety. And that kind of what I was talking about with like different families will have different takes on it. Right down to like their diet and their activities. Some of the regional versions are scary. You've got the Stiaha or Quiquaya, who were nocturnal. So they would tell children like, don't even say their names because the monsters will come and get you. If you say that, like, they have powers, like they're like Voldemort.
Right.
So Paul Kane was reporting stories by the Indians about Skookums, which is a race of cannibalistic wild men living on the peak of Mount St. Helens in southern Washington state.
Wow. So they ate each other, or us?
I didn't get that much. I was wondering that myself.
Yeah.
Like, do they eat each other or do they eat people? Technically, cannibalistic means they would eat each other.
They would eat each other.
Which I guess is kind of like fucked up and scary in a weird way, but not in the direct visceral way of they're gonna eat you.
Yeah, if they eat each other, then I'm almost cool with that.
Right? Maybe Ralph. Maybe that's why we can't find them. They all ate each other. You've got in 1840, Elkanah Walker was a Protestant missionary who was recording stories of giants among the Indians living near Spokane, Washington. The Indian said that the giants lived on and around the peaks of nearby mountains and stole salmon from the fishermen's nets.
Okay.
But again, that's like a bear.
It's a bear, yeah, or
just you lost your fucking fish that day and you didn't want to take the blame for being a fuck up. In the 1920s, you had Indian agent J.W. Burns, who was compiling local stories and published them in a series of Canadian newspaper articles. They were accounts told to him by the
just commit
people.
To it. Just be like,
the Stiles
boom.
People of Chehalis and others. The Stiles and other regional tribes maintained that the Sasquatch were real. They were offended by people telling them that the figures were legendary. And according to Stiles' accounts, the Sasquatch preferred to avoid white men and spoke the Lillooet language of the people at Port Douglas, British Columbia, at the head of the Harrison Lake. Like, shit gets very specific. Like, they're here, they speak this language, they're up that river.
Yeah.
But they're gonna run if you're white. They don't want to hang out with you.
Well, yeah. Who wouldn't?
Which, can you fucking blame them?
No.
If you tie it into other Native American folklore, like when white people first showed up, there were tribes that are like, oh, these are demons.
Yeah.
Nobody looks like this.
And without a doubt, like, clearly they're demons. And to this day, there's still questions.
Can you right. It's like, it seemed, in hindsight, it seems like a very reasonable response based on how shit shook out. Oh, well, so what's cool about J.W. Burns is that he coined the term Sasquatch. And it comes from a Halcomelum word, Sasquatch, and that's where it came from. Like, we have a source for Sasquatch. It's kind of a anglicized Native American word.
Nice.
Yeah.
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 We tend to do that, don't we?
Yeah. Well, and it's not just us. Like, lots of languages do that. Like,
yeah, you just put it in whatever form you think you could understand. Really. Right. Yeah,
we were talking
whatever makes sense to you.
Tying it back to kaiju stuff, like
it's like Dark Vader.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dark Vader, or like when Toho made King Kong movies, they would call him Kingu Kongu because like they made it theirs.
Yeah. Well, that's that's also the limitations of their language. Like they just
Right.
They don't have like a G that just ends. You have to put a vowel on the end.
Well, and if you look at how the original word Saskets is spelled out, I'm glad they turned it into Sasquatch. It's a lot easier for me to say. But so you jump. So that's kind of the earlier stuff, and then I was very drawn into the kind of the big. There was like a Bigfoot boom in the late 60s and early 70s, and I thought that was really interesting. So I kind of jumped forward a lot.
Think I was gonna say we should just jump to like modern stuff because this is gonna get wild because we have we're gonna have full accounts probably, right, from these people of like what they were doing that day.
Well, what I really zeroed in on is the footage.
Footage.
Well, you know, the video.
Yeah.
Like the fucking video.
Yeah, the one that
where it looks
we've
back.
all seen. Yeah.
Yep. And I rewatched it, and it's funny because before I actually rewatched it, I was just remembering it and thinking like, it doesn't look that good. I'm not that sold on it. Like, it's just a fucking cheap monkey suit.
It's really grainy.
It is, and the version that I watched was kind of cleaned up. It was almost like HD and kind of stabilized, and it looked pretty good.
But wouldn't that also leave it open to like someone just adding stuff to make it look more believable? Or am I just misunderstanding how this all works?
I mean, that's possible. I think the footage that I saw wasn't like tampered with. It was just because
like when they take an old movie and clean it up and make it HD, they're working with something that was pretty high quality to begin with.
Right.
And with the Bigfoot video, it was probably dog shit quality to begin with.
Actually, it was pretty good for the late 60s.
Really?
It was a Kodachrome 2 camera, and part of
that means nothing to me.
Well,
but yeah.
What's interesting about that is that if you wanted to get that film developed, there weren't a lot of places you could do it.
Okay.
And we'll get into why that's meaningful in just in a second, and why it undermines the whole thing.
Okay. Little suspense.
A little tease there. Can you stand it?
Just barely.
I know you're on the edge of your seat. You're gonna fall out. Be careful. So when we say the Bigfoot film, you can probably picture it in your mind, right? Like I think everybody knows what I'm talking about. It's called the Patterson-Gimlin film, named after the people who shot it. And the famous still, the look back. That's still 352. If you're curious, you can pull up that exact still.
Kind of want to watch it right now.
Yeah. Pop that shit up, son.
Go ahead, keep talking.
It was shot October 20th, 1967, alongside Bluff Creek in Orleans, California. Roger Patterson maintained it was real until the day he died of cancer in 1972.
Okay.
Gimlin, his partner, avoided discussing it publicly until 2005, but he also claims that it is not a hoax. Now, what's interesting about these dudes, and they're pretty nice, it was kind of the 1960s version of a prosumer camera, like a almost pro consumer camera. Earlier that year in May and June, they were shooting a docudrama about cowboys going after Bigfoot.
Oh, really?
What a wacky coinky.
Might have had a suit already.
And a nice camera.
Yeah.
How weird. But we'll dig a little more into that. But they dubbed their subject Patty. There's speculation that it's female because it does have breastises.
Oh, we'll get into that later.
It got titties.
Matt and everyone else listening, we will get into some Bigfoot titties later.
That's a Monsters Conquer the World promise.
Yes.
Big swinging pendulous hairy
I should have put that at the front of the episode instead of 40 minutes in.
Yeah. We should just rebrand this as Bigfoot Titties Conquer the World.
Right. And we're gonna.
And that's how we'll become millionaires. Patterson would later characterize the creature's expression as one of, quote, contempt and disgust. You know how it is when the umpire tells you one more word and you're out of the game. That's the way it felt.
Oh my God.
End quote. Yeah, it did not like seeing these two boys. Patterson and Gimlin, it's interesting because they were both there and their accounts don't exactly line up. There are discrepancies in they were on horseback or they rode horses out to that location.
To be fair, even if you saw something for real, you would have different accounts.
Yeah, absolutely.
But anyway, yeah.
Well, specifically, Patterson and Gimlin couldn't agree on how their horses reacted to it. One claimed that the horses like ran off, and one claimed that the horses were fine. So it's a bigger difference.
So they both claimed that both horses did different things.
Right. And so Roger Patterson, a few days before he died, I thought this was really interesting. Because so they shot the footage, they would go on talk shows, they shopped it around, it blew up. It was a cultural phenomenon, but they couldn't get scientists to take it seriously. People watched it and liked it and thought it was real, but it didn't really come together. It didn't really do anything for these guys. And so days before Roger Patterson died, he said that he wished he would have shot the quote. He wished he would have shot the thing and brought out a body instead of a reel of film.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Well, right. And if it was phony baloney bullshit, why would you say that? You know what I mean? Like, would you really keep the illusion alive on your deathbed?
Because maybe he's not the dumbest person in the world who, like, you know.
Well, and that plays into my theory is that these guys were wannabe filmmakers,
right? And
so they are entertainers and on some level actors.
Yeah.
And I think this was kind of, to use some wrestling terminology, I think this was like a kayfabe they were keeping up.
Yeah, and it's only two of them.
Yeah. Well, or is it?
Only
two of them.
Right, because of the guy in the suit's the third guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and there's even a fourth guy.
There's a cat shaking the table. I hope it doesn't affect the audio.
There is. Get out of here, cat! Bigfoot! Move! Go!
All right.
Professional podcast. So, in 1995, Greg Long, a technical writer, who had a hobby of investigating and writing about Northwest mysteries, which is the most specific hobby I've ever heard in my life. And I have a podcast about monsters, and I'm like, that shit's crazy. He started interviewing people who knew Patterson, and the more he talked to people who knew this guy, the more he got descriptions of Patterson being a con man and a liar.
Really?
And a piece of shit.
That doesn't make any sense.
You don't believe that?
No,
Ralph?
I don't believe that for a second.
You don't think that maybe he was a shyster or a charlatan?
Nope.
Honest, good dude?
No.
Well,
yes, I mean that right. To that one.
Right. So a person who didn't want to reveal their real name, who just went by Marvin, somebody named Jerry Lee Merritt, Pat Mason, Glenn Coling, and Bob Swanson all suffered financially from dealing with Patterson. And one way or another, he screwed them. As well as 21 small local creditors who sued Patterson via a collection agency. But so like a shit ton of people are like, hey, this Patterson guy screwed me.
Yeah.
And so, Vilma Radford claimed that Patterson never repaid a loan made to him for a Bigfoot movie.
Oh.
Radford had corroborative evidence, a $700 promissory note for quote, for expenses in connection with filming of Bigfoot, America's Abominable Snowman, which you'll note is a movie you've never heard of because it didn't come out.
Right.
Patterson had agreed to repay $850 plus 5% of any profits from the movie, which of course never happened because it's not a real movie. In 1974, Bob Gimlin, who you'll recognize, the other guy, with some financial assistance, sued DeAtley and Patterson's widow, Patricia, claiming he had not received his 1/3 of the share of the film's proceeds. And he actually won that case in 1976.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So pretty damning so far, actually.
Yeah. It's not great. But what's funny, I've got some other shit that'll kind of make you come around on it again.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm on board.
Okay.
Especially since I trust Patterson at this point.
Yeah.
Like, you've got me,
You're convinced he's a stand-up guy who would never do anybody wrong.
I don't think he would. I think all of these people are lying, and he's great.
And I'm picking up a note of sarcasm.
Well,
but what if that's the case? Ralph Philip Morris is a costume shop proprietor.
Okay.
And Bob Hieronymus is, you could call him an amateur suit actor.
Hieronymus, every time I hear the name, that's just the best name.
It's a fucking dope name, right?
Yeah.
It sounds badass. So Philip Morris claimed he sold them the ape suit.
Okay.
Now, what's funny about Morris is that he has no evidence of this. There's no paper trail.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, yeah, and of course he didn't get the suit, the alleged suit back.
Right. But a guy as smart and decent as Patterson, you would trust him if he just came in and he said, "Oh, no, I don't, no receipt, it's fine, I'll pay you cash." And you would be like, "Well, I know that this guy's good.
Well, I know Patterson's on the up and up.
He's got his head screwed on right.
He's a rock solid
yeah
integrity." But so he's only provided testimony, and he including a claim that he advised Patterson on how to modify the suit to make it look more realistic, specifically wearing football pads underneath the suit.
Nice.
And arm extenders.
Nice broad shoulders.
Broad shoulders and nice long ape-like arms. Makes sense. But the funny thing is, National Geographic called on him to recreate the footage. They said, well, if you sold the suit and you modify, how to modify the suit,
okay,
you could recreate it, right? And he couldn't.
Oh.
What
did they do?
Well, he built a suit and they shot it, and according to the producer with National Geographic, Neil Dockster, it looked like dog shit. It did not look like the Patterson Gimlin film at all. And
maybe they're just better filmmakers.
I'm right. I mean, that's absolutely possible.
It's such a simple explanation, but maybe they were just good at it. Maybe the lighting was right that day.
Sure.
Maybe
the suit
they shot so much footage for this whole movie, and they just picked the best looking part.
Yeah. No, that makes it that actually makes a lot of sense. The lighting was just right, and the distance was just right. And actually, there's some really interesting stuff with the film speed. They shot it at the Kodachrome 2 camera that they used had like a very variable frame rate settings.
Yeah.
And instead of shooting it at a normal like 24, or I don't know if it was capable of 32 frames per second, they shot it at 18 frames per second, which is fucking weird.
It's like jumpier and creepier, sort of.
Something. The end result, and this is something interesting to get into later. The end result is something that there are lots of naturalists and animal experts who look at that and say, well, that's not how a human walks. A human cannot walk that way. The bone structure and musculature is not that of a human in a suit. And I think the wacky frame rate is part of that. It doesn't move the way we do. And I think it's because the frame speed is fucky.
Well, and you said they built like arms.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that could be the bone structure part too. They could have just built different. Okay, cat, cut it out. They could have just built different, I don't know, little bits to put in the suit to make it look different than a human.
Absolutely. But when National Geographic was unhappy with Morris's suit, he claimed that he didn't have adequate time to prepare, and that the month was in the middle of his busy season. I just couldn't put together a good suit. We're too busy
really
right now.
Lame.
That I hadn't considered that maybe Patterson and Gimlin just shot it better, but his firing back of, well, I was too busy. I couldn't do a good job.
Well, no, but like if you were, wow, okay. If you shoot a ton of footage, like I said, for a movie, and you just pick the best part, you're gonna end up with something better than if someone knowingly sets out to recreate a certain shot.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yes, because chance is so much better than any sort of like human intent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
it was lightning in a bottle, basically. Yeah. So Bob Hieronymus is the guy in the suit, according to him.
Okay.
He didn't speak up for years because he was afraid that if he did, he wouldn't get his cut of the money. But he never did.
Anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So he said, well, fuck it. I'm going to break my silence. And what's interesting is that Hieronymus and Morris have totally different accounts of what the suit was. They couldn't agree on what it was made out of. One would say it was horsehide, and instead it smelled like rotting flesh.
It does not look like horsehide.
No, it doesn't. And then Morris said it was made out of Dynel, which is like a synthetic fabric that is used in like wigs and stuff. They couldn't agree if the fur was light or dark.
Okay.
The actual like design of the suit. One of them said it was kind of like a pullover shirt and pants, while the other one claimed it was all one unit that you zipped up in the back. One claimed that the hands and feet were attached to the suit. The other claimed that they were like boots and gloves that you pulled on.
Yeah.
And that just, what trips me out about that, the two of the people that were the most involved with this quote unquote fake suit, can't agree on almost anything, which wakes up the stupid little conspiracy theory part of my brain and says, it was a real fucking animal.
Are they still friends?
I don't think any of them are friends.
So it's entirely possible that they can't keep shit straight between each other, and one of them is lying and one of them is telling the truth.
That's extremely likely as well.
Or like maybe like this, Patterson?
Yeah.
Maybe, like con men, as we've all come to understand over the last few years, they're not always aware of everything that goes on around them.
Right.
So like,
is there a specific example you're thinking of, Riff?
They kind of just suck up competent people. Sometimes they suck up competent people, and they just let them do their thing, and then they make excuses for it. I was just kind of thinking like maybe Patterson's just sitting around like, yeah, it was gloves, right, whatever.
That's totally possible. And I was talking about this with Jess a little bit the other night because again, the hopeful part of my brain and the conspiracy theory part of my brain said they can't get it straight because it was a real fucking animal. They're both lying.
Right.
And that's insane. And Jess was like, maybe they were drunk.
It's
like, that's extremely possible.
That's very possible. It's but I just always think like, oh well, you can trust the guy that you know who lies to lie. You can trust the liar to lie.
Right.
Always.
Yes.
So I would assume whatever Patterson says, or at least 90% of it, is just like off or wrong, or he didn't know, or he does know and doesn't want you to know.
Yeah. The vibe I get from Patterson is he is a failed filmmaker and just lives and breathes being a huckster, charlatan piece of shit.
Yeah,
like,
hucksters are always bad filmmakers.
Right, yeah.
Because they're so used to just like getting things easily.
Yeah. Just spinning bullshit and it works out.
You can't like be creative after that. It's really hard to be creative. You have to like spend time getting good at it. Yeah. Hucksters are bad at that.
Yes.
We all know one of those.
We sure do.
Yes.
Another thing that's fascinating to me about this footage specifically is that it was a cultural phenomenon. Everybody was analyzing this shit and watching, and still do. But at the time, it was huge, and it's really interesting what special effects professionals make of it.
Okay.
Because you would think, or at least I thought the special effects pros, the people who make ape suits for a living, they're all probably going to kind of agree. They're either all going to say, it's a shitty suit, or, hey, that looks like a real animal. And it was like 50-50.
I mean, I would put it around there because how many different ways can you make an ape suit? Like probably a lot, actually. So maybe, like, oh, I can't think of a way that I would do this or that, but maybe some other guy could think of a way to do it, and it would make sense to them that it was a suit.
Yeah.
But maybe the people who can't think of how to do it, maybe they'd be like, well, I think that's an animal because I can't think of a way to do it.
Right. I can't see how you would do that. You had Dale Sheets at Universal, and he watched the footage in 1969 and said that he was an executive at Universal. He said we could try faking it, but we would have to create a completely new system of artificial muscles and find an actor who could be trained to walk like that. It might be done, but we would have to say that it would be almost impossible.
Almost impossible. I failed to like look up the footage, but I'm gonna like try again because
I go every time I watch it, I switch opinions on it. I'll watch it once and say it looks like crap, and then I'll watch it again and be like, that looks really good.
It just sounds wild. Like you really can't train someone to like walk funny. But,
well, and what tripped me up is his line about artificial muscles, and that he's not the only person to say like there's like musculature under the hair that we cannot replicate. But
they said like football pads and shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some lumpy bits here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a lot of lumps.
Yeah, lovely lady lumps.
No, none of those.
Although
we will get to that later.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, Ralph! Now I'm in suspense. I'm on the edge of my seat.
I know, me too. Because I forgot. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say they also Ken Peterson with Disney was being asked about it, and he said, well, they must have done that in a studio. They couldn't have done that on location, and they said no, they shot it on location, and he just walked away. Like he was so flabbergasted, like he was convinced that like it must be kind of like we were talking about earlier with the footage must have been lit a certain way so it looks good.
Yeah,
this dude was just like unfucking believable. I'm out of here.
Well, I just meant like maybe the sun was right at that moment when they shot it, and maybe how it hits the lens. Like
oh sure, that was
that's really difficult to recreate nature, on a specific day. So
yeah, the cloud cover might have been just right or something.
Right.
Bill Munns, who created the ape suits from 2001: A Space Odyssey, argues that the film depicts a non-human animal, not a man in a fursuit. And he proposed a new diagnostic test for authenticity. He said you should look at the armpit. The armpit would be the big giveaway, because if it's natural, it would be a concave skin fold, whereas if it's a suit, it would just be a vertical crease.
Now, I'm watching this on my phone.
And you're convinced
here
that Bigfoot is real.
It walks like my grandpa before he died. I don't understand what people are looking at, and they're like, that's not human.
I know. That's kind of where I landed.
He's just kind of a goofy dude.
Ralph.
Oh,
you have to answer this honestly.
What?
Was your grandpa a Bigfoot?
No, I just don't get. I don't get it. What is so freakish about this walk?
That's kind of where I landed. Like,
looks like a normal ass walk. That's just like, you take me outside, I'll walk like that.
It's right. Yeah. And then also we'll shoot you at a weird frame rate too, so it looks even more strange.
Shoot it at a weird frame rate, and I mean, like, all these guys are like pointing out like musculature, like you said. Yeah. Like a guy in a suit, like that, like any musculature at all will apply to a guy in a suit. Like, it's a fucking suit. Why are you analyzing musculature? It covers musculature.
Well, and I think that's why they're so. I think they see something that instead of looking like a suit covering a man, for whatever reason, the movement looks like muscle rippling under skin to them. I think that's, I don't know. I'm trying to meet them halfway, but I don't get it.
That's just your eye. You like, like your eye and my eye will see different things when we watch this footage, especially the more minute you get. And then especially the frame rate would have a lot to do with that, where you're like, oh, something's rippling. Like you said, you already said that, like the frame rate makes it weird.
Yeah.
And the harder you try to look at something like that, the more weird shit you're gonna see.
When you get really granular, you're gonna when you get super detail oriented, because the light could catch some fur a certain way and it looks like, I don't know, it's moving differently.
Right.
So you'll be happy to know that Rick Baker, who is these Rick Baker did the Harry and the Henderson suit.
Oh yeah.
He also did the effects for American Werewolf in London.
Bless this guy. I didn't know he existed, but
he fucking rules. Yeah. And he also did some work on the 1976 King Kong. So this is the guy who is well versed in hairy monster suits and monster puppets. He's
the guy.
And he said, quote, "It looked like cheap fake fur."
Thank fuck.
Yeah, I thought you'd be happy to hear that. He even for a while thought that a fellow special effects technician named special effects artist named
artiste.
I fucking love special effects, man. To me,
I agree.
That
actually,
it's where art and magic come together.
Right.
But he was convinced John Chambers made a shitty Bigfoot suit as a joke and sold it to these guys. Right. John Chambers is the guy who made the makeup and suits for Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
And when asked, he said, quote, "I'm good, but not that good." End quote. He concluded that if the creature is a man in a suit, then it is no ordinary gorilla suit. It's not something that they bought or rented in a store. It would have to be something tailor-made.
Yeah.
He also felt like it might have been real animal fur. So Rick Baker just said, "That's some cheap ass shitty fur." And then Planet of the Apes guy's like, "That's some great fur." So it's crazy to me. You'll ping pong. One guy says it looks like dog shit. The next guy says it looks great. I have one more that I want to touch on, and it's Stan Winston, who did Terminator and Predator and Aliens and Jurassic Park. Stan Winston is hot shit.
Oh yeah.
And he said, quote,
"I'm steaming."
Oh, get ready, Ralph. Get.
All right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Loosen up. Get ready for this hot take. Quote, "It's a guy in a bad hair suit. Sorry." End quote. Ralph, I think you've got the grand finale.
I think I do.
Based on the hints that you've sprinkled out, I think you've got the big.
I think I have. Yes. The Bigfoot story to end all Bigfoot stories.
So we should end on that.
We're gonna put Bigfoot to bed.
Ooh.
Tonight.
Oh shit.
So.
Oh my God.
Go ahead.
What are we doing to Bigfoot?
Well,
Ralph,
we'll get there.
Don't hurt him. So Jane Goodall, respected primatologist. She's like, "Yeah, man, I think he's out there." David Attenborough, another famous naturalist, is like, "Yeah. I think it's a thing." Both of them seem to lean more towards Yeti versus Bigfoot, because Yeti is in a more remote location, and it just seems like that's an ecosystem that would be more likely to house a population of secret animals like this.
Okay.
Attenborough specifically mentioned in a interview with UK TV, quote, "There are footprints that stretch for hundreds of miles, and we know that in the 1930s, a German fossil was found with these huge molars that were 4 or 5 times the size of human molars." He kind of seems plausible.
Yeah.
And there's one other, like great mind that is convinced about Bigfoot.
Okay.
Megan Fox.
Oh.
She has said in multiple interviews.
You should have led with that.
I should have led. Oh, damn it.
No, I mean, you should have said Megan Fox too.
Oh, sure. Megan Fox, noted,
and then we could just leave
noted
it,
naturalist.
not talk about Megan Fox.
Well, I do want to just throw out that specifically, she said that if I were to go on a Bigfoot expedition, I'd be the one to catch him.
She would.
And
she would.
I fucking love that.
I believe in her. Yeah.
That confidence is so like engaging. And ever since I had heard that, whenever Megan Fox is brought up, or Jess and I
Yeah.
see her on a show or something, all I can think is, let her hunt Bigfoot, man. Bullshit. I want to see Megan Fox with the gear.
If she thinks she can do it,
fucking let her do it, man.
let her do it.
It'd be so dope. She also believes in leprechauns.
Okay.
I just wanted to throw that out there.
I see no problem with that.
No, me either. Fuck yeah, dog. The thing I want to end on before we get to your bombshell is
it's gonna bust the whole Bigfoot thing wide open.
Oh yeah, I'm geeked for that. I want to just throw out my hobbyist anthropologist theory about this.
That's how I think of you as a hobbyist anthropologist.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. That's
well,
neat.
you just
this
you
shit's
give off
neat
the
to
vibe.
me. Oh, nice. I even have a jacket with the cool elbow patches.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like a vibe that I do go for is like cool substitute teacher.
All right.
Yeah.
That is what Indiana Jones had, right?
I think he
had elbow things.
I think so. Well, when he was in nerd mode.
Yeah, in nerd mode. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Not the leather jacket.
No. I don't have that. I can't pull that off.
Yeah, no. No one can pull off a leather jacket with elbow deals.
That would be insane.
No.
If you combined the two. So my galaxy brain, why do people across the whole fucking planet have Bigfoot legends? Like why is this nearly universal? And my thought is this.
Because they're sexy.
Ralph, I hadn't considered that.
Okay. Well,
shit. I gotta go back to the drawing board.
Finish your thought.
We gotta do a Bigfoot Part 2 episode where we talk about how fucking hot Bigfoot is.
Yes, we do.
Actually, that's funny. That does kind of sort of play into my hobbyist anthropologist thing.
Does it?
Yeah.
Well,
so check this out. I didn't know the extent of this until I had done some. I knew a little bit about this. Okay. So ancient humans, I mean like 40,000 years ago, Ice Age humans, we did coexist with Neanderthals, and I didn't know this, but we also coexisted with Homo erectus.
Yeah,
basically
there's some overlap between all of them.
Yeah. And we were in competition with each other, and to some extent.
We banged Neanderthals.
Yeah, we fucked.
Yeah.
So that like,
a lot
Bigfoot
of people,
is sexy.
Like a lot of people of European heritage have a lot of Neanderthal. It's like 1% or something like that.
Nice. It's fucking hot, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it's not weird. Like that's just how it works.
Right, and I think
they were like just different enough to be called something else, but still like compatible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so there were these 3 subspecies that were all kind of vying for control, essentially. And reading about it a little bit, it sounds like what wiped out the Neanderthals was that we had adjusted to their diseases, but they weren't able to adjust to ours. It sounds like that's what wiped them out.
Yeah, I think that's one theory.
There were some other factors too, but and
you could also say they weren't really wiped out; that they were bred into our species to a degree.
I think it's a little bit of both, but it's not even the details of that play into Bigfoot. To me, it's just the idea that there was a time when we as humans also knew about these other humanoid species that were not exactly like us, but they were out there. And for a period, it was a fact of life, and then it became warnings that the elders would pass down, like don't go here or here because these others are there. And then as they faded out, it was just humans, but the stories remained. I think that's something that is kind of ingrained across the board in our culture, and it didn't necessarily continue straight into Bigfoot. There is in Greek mythology, you have figures like the satyr or the faun, who are these hairy, humanoid kind of wild peoples who hang out in the wilderness and are kind of mysterious and spooky. You've got Sylvanus, the Roman god of the woodlands, who was again this kind of wild, hairy other. In medieval European folklore, you have the wild man, which is he pops up in art, he pops up in literature, he pops up in architecture, and its defining characteristic is its wildness, and it shows up in art. And I think there's a biological, or not biological, but I think there's a historical precedent for Bigfoot stories. And I think they stuck with us and kind of morphed with the times, and it is what it is now.
I mean, that's as good a theory as any, I think. It does still come back to people telling stories, and some people believe in it and some people not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty good.
Cool.
I have no problem with that. Cool.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear a story?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay. Well, I'm going to get up here and then,
and then
I'm going to tell a story.
Okay.
I'll be right back. All right. So if you want to hear a story, I have a couple stories.
Yes.
And we're talking about something very near and dear to my heart. And these are modern stories.
Perfect.
Just to prime the engine.
Ooh.
Kind
of lube it up.
When I searched for Bigfoot, the first thing that came up was this is from CNN.
Good.
In one of the more bizarre episodes of the midterm elections this year, which would be 2018.
Correct.
The race for Virginia's 5th congressional district has come down to a fight over Bigfoot erotica and whether one candidate is into it. Democratic candidate Leslie Cockburn tweeted on Sunday that in addition to campaigning with a white supremacist, Republican candidate Denver Riggleman was a devotee of Bigfoot erotica. Both charges that Riggleman denied in an interview with CNN. My opponent, Denver Riggleman, running mate of Corey Stewart, was caught on camera campaigning with a white supremacist. Now, he has been exposed as a devotee of Bigfoot erotica. This is not what we need on Capitol Hill, Cockburn tweeted, along with a photo of a nude Bigfoot. Apparently from Riggleman's Instagram. Riggleman, however, told CNN that the accusation about a sexual interest in Bigfoot was absurd and acknowledged writing 2 books on Bigfoot, including an unpublished text called The Mating Habits of Bigfoot and Why Women Want Him. Both of which he said were parody and stemmed from running jokes he had with friends from the military.
Ah, convenient.
I'd buy it.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like when an inside joke comes out and people don't have the context for it, yeah, it can look weird.
Anybody heard our fucking inside jokes from high school?
Oh boy.
Riggleman also said he did not believe in Bigfoot, but added that he did not want to alienate the Bigfoot vote, and said the entire thing was a joke that his opponent had seized upon unfairly.
That's an important demographic when you're stumping for public office. You got to make sure you got that Bigfoot vote.
Yes. So the Bigfoot vote, I mean, from what you said, it's like 99% of the country.
Yeah, it is a big slice of the population.
Yeah, you got to lock that down.
You got to respect that demo.
So at this point, I'm interested.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
So I started looking for more stuff, and I found a book called Fun for Bigfoot 1 through 5. There's 5 of these by Virginia Wade, and the description is: on a week-long outing in Mount Hood National Forest, what begins as a flirty, fun-filled trip soon turns into a nightmare when an ape-like creature kidnaps a group of teen girls with the purpose of procreating with them. Oh, no. Thus begins the erotic adventure of a lifetime. and an inconceivable love story between a young woman and her horny Sasquatch. My man, buckle up.
Oh, no.
I am not going to read from that book. I am going to read.
Come on, you don't have an excerpt? You
No.
can't tease Bigfoot erotica and not deliver.
Not from that book. I just really liked the description. But listen.
Okay.
Listen. I have something so much better.
Better?
Yes.
Better than the horny Bigfoot and the sorority sisters?
Better than that particular horny Bigfoot.
Okay.
So I just went ahead and, if you're looking for Bigfoot stories, you know that they're going to be right on the edge of truth.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
there's going to be some doubt. So I just looked up stories that are definitely not truth.
Okay.
Other alternate Bigfoot tales.
Sure.
One called Something in the Woods by T.W. Holt.
Okay.
T.W._Holt. So that should tell you something about where I found it.
Hey, your local library?
No.
Wait. Are you telling me you found this on the World Wide Web?
Yes.
The dark web?
No, not the dark web.
Okay.
This is the regular old web where people just put Bigfoot
Web
porn.
classic.
They're just really weird Bigfoot porn. They put it all on the regular web.
Yeah, oh yeah.
In this story by T.W. Holt,
TW_Holt.
T.W._Holt
Thank you.
says, this fella's house is entered when he's not at home. Hey, please keep in mind I did not read this whole thing.
Sure.
And I really only got to the point where it got real
Hot.
good. And then I stopped. So this guy prefaces this story with, he says he doesn't know a lot about Bigfoot.
Sure.
And that he's pretty sure people will correct him
Oh, okay.
about
Leave it to
certain,
the experts.
certain minutiae
Sure.
of the Bigfoot. I guess maybe the anatomy specifically.
Oh no.
But his house is entered when he's not at home. He discovers that food is missing from the fridge.
Mhm.
So he just starts buying more food. He's just like, I'm just going to put food in the fridge. We'll see. There's nothing out of place. It's just the food.
Definitely the response of a normal human.
Right.
My house has been broken
guy
into.
in the woods. Like, I guess.
Some
whatever.
drifter broke into my house and stole my food. I'm not going to file a police report or change the locks or put bars on my windows. I'm just going to replace the food and hope for the best.
Yes.
Sure. We've all been there.
So he buys more food.
Mm-hmm.
He figures out that it's a Bigfoot at some point, and it comes in while
Hang
he's
on.
home.
Wait. I'm sorry. He
He finds out it's a Bigfoot. He figures it out. I
he
honestly missed
Batman?
how he figured it out. I missed that part. He's a fantastic detective.
If I come home and food is mysteriously missing from my house, I don't know that I would jump straight to, it's Bigfoot.
It is. Well, I mean, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
He's a smart guy.
I'm getting lost
He's a smart
in the
guy.
details here.
I'm just.
He's the world's greatest detective. Knows it's Bigfoot.
So he figures it out.
Mhm.
That's really the point. And then he just starts tossing ham at it at some point. Like, he comes home while he's there, and he just starts saying, like, all right, just take the food. Just go.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
So he's doing this daily.
Daily.
At some point, I think he figures out it's a female.
Mm-hmm.
He names her Sally.
Ooh.
She gets caught in the bathroom at some point, and he just he's just tossing food at her.
Sure.
And he said, this is several days in. He got bold one day. He hadn't thrown Sally a slice of lunch meat in a few hours. He was watching her peek out of the window at a snowy landscape towards the woods. Rich is the main character. Rich stood, making his way into the kitchen. He grabbed a small piece of ham, walking directly to Sally, and extended his hand to her. She turned, looked up at him, slowly taking the meat from his hand. Rich sat back down, smiling at her, watching her eat. He repeated this the next day, opting only to feed her directly instead of tossing her some food. He also let her outside each day. She would be gone around 15 to 20 minutes, but would always return. Rich started noticing she wasn't crouching as much, but walking slightly more upright around him during the day. He was cutting up some bread when he watched her walk into the kitchen to resume her spot in the corner. He saw her breasts covered in black hair, but still very visible and large. 10 nipples poking through the hair.
10?
Tan.
Oh, 10.
Sorry, that was my enunciation.
Holy shit.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, that
yes.
was 10 nipples.
Whoa, it's Lovecraftian nightmare. Like on 2 boobs. 10 nipples on 2 boobs.
So they were the nipples were the same color as her nose, mouth, and other parts of her face that weren't covered in hair. Rich also saw no external reproductive organs. A quick glance in between her legs confirmed there was no scrotum or penis.
A quick glance.
Wait a second.
He's a gentleman.
Very next paragraph.
Oh, God.
Nice tits, Sally, Rich said aloud, causing her to turn to face him. Reaching up to him from her crouched position, she took a piece of bread from his hand. The next day, Rich decided to try an experiment. Sally, want to watch me take a shit?
What?
He asked.
That was not the turn I was expecting this to
It's
take.
the next paragraph. It's right after he says nice tits.
Nice
He says,
tits.
Want
to watch me take a
shit?"
dump? Hey, Sally, check this out. I can make fudge.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This is such a specific fetish. It's not even, I found Bigfoot and we bone zoned. It's Bigfoot lived with me for a while and I made her watch me take a dump.
It was funny when I read it the first time, and it's better now. So, okay, he offered
It's a
her
journey.
He offered her a piece of food to entice her to follow him to the hall bathroom. She peeped around the corner, watching Rich do his bathroom business. When he was done, he didn't flush, instead leaving his excrement there. Oh,
I
Matt
just knocked
spilled
over
his
my water.
Okay.
Oh boy.
All right.
Oh boy.
We got to...
Quick break.
Yeah, quick break.
Okay.
Okay, so Matt has cleaned up his spill.
I literally was so astonished by the things that Ralph has said that I, in a fit of shock, Ralph sits across from me, so when I'm just saying stuff normal, my hands are moving. I move around a lot, so. When he read this part of the story, I literally flung my arms wide, knocking over my giant mug of water. So
It was, yeah.
It was basically full.
Yeah. You hadn't drank a lot in the first half, and then it was, yeah. But I get it. This is a lot to take in.
It's just,
and you know what? There's a lot more.
The M. Night Shyamalan level twists that happen sentence to sentence.
Yeah, so like every paragraph is a new horror.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, please continue.
Yeah, and we're just getting started because he doesn't.
We're just getting started.
He doesn't even know. Oh yeah, because they barely interacted.
Well, he did force her to watch him poop.
He like lured her in there, yeah. And just like
with the promise of ham.
Yeah.
Real quick, actually, since we're kind of between lines of the story, I really enjoy that Bigfoot can sense food inside his refrigerator.
Oh, right, it just knows.
and likes lunch meat.
Oh yeah, ham.
Yeah. I mean, not like raw chicken or beef or something, but like ham.
Like
I'm picturing the slimy
ham.
slices that you put between bread.
Mm-hmm.
Very good.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
It could be anything.
I'm sure she would eat it, but it's just like, oh yeah, that's the fridge. I'm gonna go and look in the fridge.
Yes, the refrigerator. It's me,
and
Bigfoot.
Like nothing else is touched.
Right.
Oh, I think at some point she like his clothes were moved around, like she had been like sniffing at him or something.
Okay, sure. That seems like maybe something a curious animal.
She must like his musk. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
So
she's gonna like something.
Now, at this point in the story, we're in the bathroom. Rich has just taken a shit.
He refused to flush. I think that was the line that made me karate chop my huge mug of water. Oh no, I Urkel snorted. Shit. Okay, please continue.
So, She peeped around the corner, watching Rich do his bathroom business. When he was done, he didn't flush, instead leaving his excrement there.
What the fuck, Rich?
Hoping Sally would figure out that's where it went. He watched... That's what he's doing.
It's
he's
a potty
teaching her about the potty.
Okay.
He watched her walk into the bathroom, moving right past him, causing him to look up at her. She was so tall, a foot taller than Rich. Sally looked into the toilet, sniffing from above.
Ooh, a little Foley. Thank you, Ralph.
Rich slowly moved to her, bringing his hand on the flusher, making sure she watched what he was doing. He flushed the toilet, startling her slightly. She watched his waist go down to be replaced with fresh water. I really don't feel like wiping your butt, Rich said softly, peering around Sally, looking at her ass, thinking how it reminded him of Olympic-level sprinters he had seen on TV.
Oh, she got some booty.
It's actually a nice one. Hairy, but nice. This is a little bit later. He says he would...
Fast forward to the good part.
Fast forward a bit. He was awakened hours later. Light from the kitchen streaming into his room, the refrigerator door open. In the dim light, he saw the silhouette of a 7-foot-tall woman standing in his kitchen, pouring the bowl of water down her throat. Barely being able to make out her breasts swaying with each step, Rich wondered if she would try to come into his bedroom. He wondered if she'd sleep in his bed. So this is, again, a little while later. They... Later on, take a shower.
Every time I think it's just going to go straight into fucking, it takes some like detour
it's
that's either...
slow burn.
Yeah.
This is several full like web pages in. This is like 3 or 4.
Okay.
You know, like not like a page in a book, but like I want to say like 7 of those.
Yeah, right. Like scrolling.
Would make up one page. So, she loved the shower, he says.
Ooh.
She had no issue with Rich lathering up her back with soap. Rich was enjoying it as well. He noticed how densely muscular her back was, her wet hair sticking to and highlighting her musculature. The
going back to the musculature.
odd musculature
Yeah.
of the famous Bigfoot.
Inhuman.
Then Rich made his way further down her back and saw her ass. His eyes lit up, watching the streams of water trail down her back and into her crack. Sally's butt did indeed resemble some of those Olympic sprinters. Rich imagined Sally posing on the cover of one of those bodybuilding magazines. He chuckled to himself, his fingers combing the shampoo through her fur. Then something else happened. He couldn't take his eyes off her ass. At this point, she was slightly bent over, as if she figured out it would be easier for him to clean her back, causing her back to arch and butt to stick out slightly more. Rich stared at it, watching the muscles flex when Sally would occasionally lift her weight. He had an erection. Anyway, weeks go by. Weeks. So
this isn't a fling with Bigfoot. This is a relationship. This is courting.
Yeah. I've never seen the Bridges of Madison County, but I assume it's a lot like
I'm
that.
sure it's essentially this.
Yeah.
Just washing the dirt off of a lady.
Some old lady.
So just caked with muck.
She's probably like 200 years old.
Yeah.
Nah, probably not.
With that Olympic sprinter's butt. Rich has got a bit of a fixation.
Yeah, I think he posits her age at some point, and he's like, "Oh, I think she's a young one." It's real gross. It's as gross as you would expect.
Boy,
like it's gross upon gross. It's gross in the first place.
It is, right? Because it's bestiality.
Yeah, and I've read this maybe a couple times, just to
sure, for research for the podcast.
Oh yeah,
Katie, it's just research for the podcast.
No, really. So, but it's just like, okay, it's a weird premise, and then you see all of his fetishes that he has in like regular life.
All this stuff manifesting.
Yeah, because he says in the beginning he's not a Bigfoot guy. He doesn't know about Bigfoot that much, so he just like slides this Olympic sprinter shit in there.
Yeah,
like he's obviously into bodybuilders.
Yes.
Youthful ones.
Yeah.
And like he's teaching and all this shit.
Yeah,
you know?
that having that almost parental relationship with the Bigfoot.
Yeah, like a patriarchal, like, I'll show you how to take a shit because I don't want to wipe your butt.
Yeah. It's a lot, Ralph. I'm yearning for the sorority sisters having a wacky romp with a horny Bigfoot because that seems less oogie than this somehow.
Well, we can do that some other time because weeks go by. In this,
she's moved in.
She has moved in. I think they watch TV together. And
sure,
shit.
They go to parties.
And
this is Sally. She's not from around here.
Rich starts dropping hints
that I want to get married.
He says, Sally, if you want to have sex, just let me know, okay? It may be weird, but I wouldn't mind doing that with you, Rich told her, smiling, handing her a ham sandwich one day. He, of course, received no response from the Bigfoot in his kitchen, his joking words falling on non-English speaking or comprehending ears. Now, at some point, she starts going out to like the door and yelling out into the woods, just like or whatever.
Yep.
And she's wild about it. She just needs to go and yell out into the woods. She seems desperate.
Sure.
It's obvious that she's in heat. Here you go, Rich said, sitting next to her, giving her some turkey. I love you, Sally, and I'm sorry there's no males of your kind around out there. You got a really nice body. Some lucky Sasquatch is missing out. I'll be a substitute if you like, Rich, joking once again, patted her forearm, taking a few bites of his sandwich. A couple days later, Rich was drying his hair after his shower. He genuinely felt bad for Sally. She had been moping around for a while now. He would joke and make comments to her about helping her find a male Bigfoot or offering his services, all in good fun. He often wondered if she presented herself to him, if he would actually go through with it and have sex with her. When he exited his bathroom, his towel wrapped around his waist, to see Sally on his bed on all fours looking over her shoulder at him, Rich was faced with the reality of having to make that decision right there. You are in heat, Rich said, taking his index finger, moving some of the hair aside, seeing what he thought to be dark tan labia lips.
Whoa, okay.
Sally grunted once more. You are in heat, he repeated, standing straight up. Can I do this? Can I help you? Rich held his breath to her. Sorry, he doesn't hold his breath. Did you have something to say?
I don't know. I don't know, Ralph.
I know. Yeah. There's a lot more. There's a lot more? You better say it.
Do they get married?
Listen, you better say what you're going to say now.
Okay.
Before I get into this.
I know this guy had the ultimate out by saying like, I don't know a lot about Bigfoot, so I'm kind of guessing. But like having done a bunch of Bigfoot research, and we were talking about one of the like funniest, best parts about Bigfoot is that they smell fucking terrible.
Right.
So does she stink like shit?
Well, they took a shower, right?
Yeah, once. Like,
well, there are more in there. I cut quite a bit of this story out. This story is like a novella.
It's a lot, Ralph.
Right. And there's a lot more that I didn't read. It's just like on the internet. Like if you want to read the rest of the story, if this does something for you, seek it out.
If this has awoken something inside you.
Something in the Woods by TW_Holt. Okay.
All right. I think that's all I had.
Should I start?
Okay. You know, the one thing I wanted to tie it into a real thing. Did you ever read? Or maybe it's not real. It might have just been like a weird story. But do you remember? This is also on the internet, and I don't remember an author name or a title. But the guy who fucked a dolphin. Do you remember that?
I just thought that happened, didn't it?
I think it does, but there was like a long drawn out account that was, maybe it was the same writer, but it was this similar thing of a guy breaking into an aquarium a few nights and like creating sort of a relationship with a dolphin. Yeah. And then it culminates in bestiality.
Bringing a little extra chum to the party.
Oh God, it's not consensual. Animals can't consent.
Yeah, let that sit for a minute.
Yeah, it's bad. It's very bad. Don't fuck animals.
No,
God,
obviously.
please.
And even this guy is like trying to make it like consensual.
Right.
In,
Yeah.
in his weird way.
Yeah. Yeah. Boy,
And she's like on all fours on his bed, like, please, sir.
Right. I feel like I've learned so much about this internet stranger.
It's just like any other porn. Like, no woman wants to have sex with any man, right? No, I'm just fucking around. But
I know.
Porn is like that, though.
Oh, yeah.
I just mean, yeah. I meant just like the milquetoast sort of like
middle
middle of the road porn is just like some like really overly horny woman that like to a comical degree.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you're talking original recipe porn.
Oh yeah. Not extra crispy.
Porn classic.
Yeah. So, back to Rich and Sally.
Mm-hmm.
Rich held his hand to her crotch, feeling the heat emanating from it. He ran his other hand over her muscular butt cheeks.
Okay.
Remember earlier that he said, "Can I help you?" because you're in heat. He wants to. And he says, "Yes, I can." So, we're not going to go through the rest of this. But suffice to say that they bone several times. It is extremely gross. There is a lot of hair involved. There is a lot of fluids and other icky crap.
Extremely graphic.
Extremely graphic. We have actually gone back and edited out the...
Matt tapped out. Matt couldn't do it.
Matt heard the whole story and said, "We can't do it.
We can't.
Cannot
This isn't what I want Monsters Conquer the World to be or be affiliated with."
So we took it right up to the edge, to where it should not go any further.
Yeah.
And then we cut it off. So if you, for some reason, really want to read this, you got to just look up Something in the Woods by TW_Holt. I can't remember what friggin' weird site it was on, but it's filled with all kinds of wonderful things that you probably love.
Yeah.
My man, that story, haunts me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot.
So,
yeah.
What do you think of Bigfoot, man?
Well, that story aside,
let's swing it back to normal.
Sure,
Bigfoot stuff.
Before I did Bigfoot research, I put myself at I stood at, well, I think there's like a 1% chance of Bigfoot or a Yeti.
Uh-huh.
And I did a bunch of research, and I read a lot of conflicting reports, which was interesting to me. I thought for sure you would either have just true believers or total skeptics, and it was an even mix of both. And some really smart people are like, it's possible. And that put me at like 2%.
2%.
2% chance.
It's a little higher than me, but not much.
It's a 100% increase in my belief in Bigfoot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe in Bigfoot, but like whatever. Like that's the thing. Like you can believe in it if you want.
Yeah. I mean I don't, but it
does no harm.
It does no harm, and
as long as you don't like ruin your own life.
Right. Is like it's such a rabbit hole to fall down too, because I was doing a little research, and
we slid in a big old hole earlier.
That is true. But it's fascinating to me that Bigfoot is a global phenomenon, and that it manifests in many very different ways.
Oh my God.
From everything from children's stories to horrifying filth. It runs the gamut, and it's a global thing too.
You bet.
Bigfoot is ours. It's an American monster.
Yeah. But
everybody's got a Bigfoot, and I like that something so weird and goofy kind of brings us all together and makes us all human.
Yes. So we'll do the same thing that we do with the movies. Would you recommend this? Would you recommend Bigfoot?
Would I recommend Bigfoot?
Would you recommend Bigfoot?
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, I'd recommend Bigfoot too.
I love Bigfoot.
Check it out, guys.
It's great.
Check out Bigfoot.
It's just fun. No matter what flavor of Bigfoot you seek out, whether it's, again, horrifying filth or Harry and the Hendersons, or there's a Toho monster movie called Half Human that they banned. It's a cool little movie.
Yeah.
It's a cultural phenomenon, and I'm glad it exists. And again, not Bigfoot itself, but the idea of Bigfoot, this thing that lives in so many people's brains.
Yes, I think it's cool. I'm looking forward to doing more cryptids.
Yeah. Oh man, that takes me to one of my prompts for the Patreon bonus content.
Okay.
Because when I was doing some Bigfoot research, it made me think about another cryptid video that I would like to talk about with you and get your thoughts on.
We'll save that.
I will.
All right.
I will. Speaking of Patreon and our patrons, I want to thank Riccio and Shelley again for supporting us. You are amazing. If you like what you hear and you want to attain their status as real-life superheroes, you can go to www.patreon.com/monstersconquer and become a patron. All patrons on any level get cool Discord flair, but if you subscribe at the $5 level, you get access to that secret bonus content.
Ooh.
The cool stuff. I mean, this is cool too. It's all cool. But you know what I mean. The elite VIP shit.
Oh, they know.
Oh yeah. Our secret shadow episodes is what I like to think of it as.
Shadow. I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
And even if you can't become an official patron, you can make a huge difference just by sharing the podcast on social media or telling your friends or writing the name of our podcast in crop circles, or whatever you can do.
You do normal podcasts do that whole rate us on Apple Podcast thing.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Rate us.
Well,
if you do it.
Yeah.
Or if you listen on Apple Podcasts, why not?
Yeah. Throw us a rate. Cause that's a huge bump for us.
It is.
And
even one review would be like very cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It'd be buck wild. Be sure to visit monstersconquertheworld.com for all that monster mashing kaiju goodness. Over 4 years of my silly bullshit is up there. I'm doing a Godzilla King of the Monsters blog review, so you'll see that later this month. I know we just did a podcast episode, but I like to dig deep and get in them guts. And right now you can actually check out the recipe for the official Monsters Conquer the World cocktail. King of the Monsters, created by our friend Richard.
Oh yeah, Rich made that.
So you can brew that bad boy up at home and get trashed.
Happy birthday, Rich.
Happy birthday, Rich.
And to Chelsea as well.
And Chelsea. Yeah, double birthday. They double dipping on that birthday business.
Happy birthday, guys.
You can follow us on Twitter at Monsters Conquer. You can also join our Facebook group. That's facebook.com/monstersconquertheworld. And then monstersconquertheworld.com also has the open invite to our Discord, so you can jump in there and yak with us about shit. We talk about monster movies and cryptids and video games and pop culture. And
we've been on there quite a bit, too. So
Yeah, it's been popping off lately. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, join us, won't you?
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's good. We can cap this one off, right?
You got cap
Another
it right off.
successful podcast.
We did it. We made a podcast.
All right. So on to Patreon. Hope to see you there.
Join us, won't you? I already said that, but please join us.
Yes.
One of us. Gooble gobble, gooble gobble. That's a Freaks reference. You should watch Freaks if you've never seen it. It's a great fucking